Hello, I'm Eric Hunter. In front of this curtain, beneath my new haircut, you can't tell it's grown in by now, but this is Behind the Curtain. Here we showcase student productions, whether it be short films for class, a personal project, or even a feature film. This week we'll be discussing Rama Sardar's film Gayatri, which won an honorable mention at the Cannes Short Film Festival. It's about a college student who juggles the intersectionality between her sexuality and ethnicity. So let's take a look at the trailer, and then afterwards we'll sit down with Rama. Welcome back. I'm here with Rama. We're going to talk to her about her film for a little bit. Rama, I said this earlier, but this film is about a college student. Her name's Gayatri, and it's her juggling the intersectionality between her sexuality and her background. So I'm curious, where did this inspiration for the story come from?
Yeah, I'm a queer woman, and I'm of Indian descent, so a lot of the inspiration came from my own personal life and having to kind of sometimes deal with a double identity and like living two realities and lying to certain groups of people because it's just not widely accepted still in Indian culture. And a lot of the inspiration just came from like my personal life, and I just wanted to tell a story that represented women who deal with that same sort of shame and like those double identities, so yeah. Okay,
so I mean that explains everything now about the film because it was very genuine and it seemed like it really came from a point of view from an experiential point of view. So that's very cool to know about. And I'm curious, where did the original idea come from? As far as did you collaborate with anybody to write the story, or was it just did you write it all out, pitch it to a group, and they were like, yeah, let's do it?
Yeah, that's sort of what I did. So I started writing it over the summer of 2021, and I just like really started writing. I didn't really have a specific plot in mind or anything. I kind of just wanted to make like a lighthearted, like piece of life film. So I kind of just started writing, and I had like a length in mind. So I wrote it, and then I pitched it to my AD and then my producer, and they were really on board with it. And then we just got a crew together and found a cast. So yeah, it was really just I wrote it out and found people that might be interested in telling a story like this.
Okay, awesome. We actually have a clip, and Rama, could you tell us what we're going to see in this clip?
Yeah, so this is a library scene. It's a scene where all the characters are together, and it starts off with Gayatri by herself in the library, and she's sort of frustrated. She's working on an assignment, and then all the characters sort of come together. So it sort of just shows like how chaotic they are, but how like good of friends they are to each other.
Okay, well, let's check it out.
Who's on the phone?
No one right now. Stupid scholarship committee has me on hold.
Oh, I forgot to ask you, how are you paying the plumbing bill next month?
Matt said he was gonna cover it for her.
Nope, didn't, never said that.
What's wrong?
I don't know if I can pay for the rest of my tuition.
What?
They rejected my application.
Why?
I don't know. Not good enough, I guess.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go.
It'll be okay. You always end up on your feet.
I don't know about this one.
Don't you have another scholarship?
Yeah, but it's not enough.
What about your parents? They can't help you out?
I don't know. They have my siblings too. God, I'm just so f***ing annoyed. I don't want to take a student loan. I'll spend the rest of my life paying that off.
I know. I'm sorry.
The actress who played Maya I've seen her in other things, and in every film I've seen her in, she cries, and she cries so well.
She's really
and that
good.
was a perfect example of that. She's an incredible actress, and I think she really sold that scene and that character overall, because it really seemed like she got kicked out of college. She wasn't able to pay anymore. It was awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And I'm curious, what was the casting process like? Because this is the first scene where we see the cast all come together at the same time for the first time, and right off the bat, they riff so well, and it's very dynamic, and it's like you're watching a real conversation play out in real life. So I'm curious, what was the casting process like? Where did you find these people?
Yeah, so in terms of Bella's character, Maya, I have worked with her before, so I kind of wrote the script with her in mind for the character because she's like really an incredible actress and she really just knows what she's doing. She's studying acting, so I kind of had her in mind. So I did reach out to her primarily when we started casting, and I asked her like, I really envision you in this part. I would love for you to audition, and she said of course. And she auditioned, and I obviously like knew, I'm like, this is the only person that can really play Maya. So that's how I casted her. And then in terms of the other cast, I did pitch this film to Student Cinema Guild, which is the film club at IU. And a lot of the cast was a part of Student Cinema Guild, so a lot of people just wanted to audition, and then based off of that, we found Gayatri, who was played by Umla, and we found her through Student Cinema Guild, and Ben, who plays Matt, and then Sophia, I've also worked with her before, she plays Kelly, so I did ask her to audition. And then Aram, who plays Alex, is actually a friend of my producer, and he's like very similar to the character in real life. So we thought he would just be a really good fit. So that's kind of how all the cast came together, and I think we got really lucky because they just worked so well together and just really became friends on set, and really were passionate about telling this very personal story.
Okay. It makes sense that you found these people through a lot of different IU groups with collaborative, creative minds, because they really sold their characters. My favorite character by far was Alex, because he just one-liners just left and right. He was saying the most visceral stuff,
Right.
and I was just belly laughing in my bedroom watching this on my computer. And this scene is the first introduction of really every scene that has all of these characters together. There's always a very dramatic, intense conversation, usually between Gayatri and Maya, which is usually juxtaposed with Matt and Alex just arguing about something,
Right.
and Alex is just insulting Matt left and right, saying he's too tall to see where he's going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious.
Thank you.
And but this scene particularly was funny to me because Gayatri was upset that autocorrect changed her name to Guitar, and I was
Yeah.
like, idiot, autocorrect. And then I mispronounced the movie to you just 5 minutes ago, so I have no place to say such a thing. But it's my understanding that this film won an honorable mention at the Cannes Film Festival. Can you tell us a little bit? Congratulations,
Thank
first and
you.
foremost.
Thank
That's
you.
very impressive. That's awesome.
Thank you.
But can you elaborate on how the submission process was and how you went about doing that?
Yeah, so the film was completely edited by like mid-December, so that's sort of when I started like researching film festivals and kind of trying to understand like which film festival that this film would really have a chance of getting into, because like again, we are students, so we do have a budget in terms of spending, and film festival submissions cost a lot of money. I feel like that's not something that people talk about. So I submitted to like 15 film festivals, and Cannes was one of them. And so this film festival is like one of the many Cannes film festivals, and it's one of the short film festivals. So I submitted to that, and I was initially like really wary about doing it, but my AD, Thomas, actually told me to do it. He's like, I think we have a really good chance of at least like being mentioned or being selected in some way. So I was like, okay, like I'm gonna trust you. So I submitted, and we got an honorable mention. I was really surprised. I think I got the notification in January that we were mentioned, and I was very surprised, and it just like encouraged me a lot, because people want to hear the story be told and just hear like stories that represent people like me. So it was just really encouraging and gave me a lot of hope.
Right. I think it was definitely deserving of an honorable mention. It was
Thank you.
it was a very good film. It all the way through. There was never a point where my suspension of disbelief was thwarted or anything like that. I was entertained all the way through. I had dramatic elements, comedic relief elements. It was just beautifully balanced film.
Thank you.
And you mentioned that there was, you're a college student. There was issues with, the budget as far as submitting this. Did you run into any other particular challenges while filming this? Filming Gayatri?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest things was probably coordination, because we have, obviously like we're students, we have a lot of classes. So this was filmed in 6 days, but it was filmed on like over the span of like 4 weeks, because we also had fall break in the middle, so everyone was gone. So we had to take like 3 weekends to really film this. So I think scheduling people was really difficult. Sometimes people would come to me with like a last minute conflict, and I really had to be like calm myself down and like schedule around it and just sort of be patient and understand that like, you know, everyone's a student. We all have our own stuff going on. I think another big thing was COVID. We weren't really sure, like people were getting tested every week. Everyone was wearing masks other than actors when they were being filmed. So that was like another big worry because I didn't want to put anyone at risk. And this was like quite a big crew. We had like 25 people, so it was quite a big crew like every single day. And then just equipment, like we're very new to handling a lot of equipment. So I think it was a learning process for us. And for me definitely too, because I hadn't worked with a lot of these like elaborate like camera equipment. So I think just figuring that out, but overall it just like, it came together and it really helped that people were very supportive and just willing to like work well together and be patient throughout the entire process.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that you were new to all this equipment. It was a learning process for you and the rest of the crew. That is not emulated in the film. It looks like you all know exactly what you're doing. The cinematography especially is just gorgeous. It's awesome. There's never a shot in there that I'm like, they didn't need that. All of them are they're very conducive to getting the point across of the film, particularly the little inserts of Gayatri's room. I really like those where you, the shots of the statues and then the little Devta poster on the wall. I thought that was a really cool thing.
Thank you.
Was there any particular illusion that you were trying to convey with the insert of that poster?
The posters? Not exactly. I just wanted to incorporate a lot of Indian aspects into the film. Because that's sort of like what my room looks like. So I really just wanted to incorporate that and sort of incorporate her culture because she, like me, is like American. She has an American accent. She's been raised in America, but it's like still like sticking to her cultural roots. And in that scene, she's also praying, and that's like very important to me as well. So I kind of just wanted to incorporate like certain cultural aspects into it because like that's very important to me. I feel like it's not very represented in film. Like in Western cinema especially. So yeah, that was sort of the reason for those inserts, and it was very specific, like right before the scene where she meets Kelly. So it was just very like a kind of a big contrast because she's like praying and doing cultural stuff, and then she's later like, you know, letting herself down and not treating herself well by having this person over. So I kind of just wanted to incorporate that contrast while also representing my culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've like you said, it's not really represented in Western culture. We've seen queer movies. We've seen movies where people are coming to terms with their sexuality, but we've never seen it. At least I haven't so much so intertwined with the particular ethnicity of the character. And I thought that was really cool that you touched on that, and it was just overall a really cool film. I am also curious. So a lot of the inspiration for this, the way her room was decorated, her background came from your own experience, and the whole film is sort of, at least Gayatri and Maya's bond is sort of cemented there at the end with their mutual adoration for the Sappho's poetry book. Was that a personal thing? You were a fan of Sappho's then?
Yes, I definitely am. I do love poetry, and I think in that scene where like Maya and Gayatri are discussing the book and she just like sort of picks the book out, it's like before Gayatri, like before we reveal her sexuality, and it's really not like a forefront of the film yet. So it was just like a small detail that I wanted to incorporate, and I feel like unfortunately a lot of people don't know who Sappho is and just like the sapphic genre in general, and people who don't like read poetry. So I feel like it was just a cool detail to incorporate and maybe something that people might want to look into and check out. So yeah, personally, I'm like very into that, and I feel like a lot of people on the cast and crew are fans of incorporating that into the story.
Right. You mentioned a lot of people aren't familiar with Sappho, and you could probably guess that I wasn't because I said Sapphos just now. So it was this film taught me a lot of things. I learned about Sappho. I did some research on that film poster, Devta. There were a lot of things in this film that I wasn't familiar with. And yeah, it was just so much information in this film. Overall, was this your first ever film that you were the forefront of?
I have like written and directed really short stuff, but those have mostly been like class projects. But this is by far like the biggest thing I've ever done, and with such a big cast and crew. So yeah, I would say it's one of my like first biggest projects, and I'm just really like proud of everyone, and like not just like myself, but like everyone on the cast and crew. Like it couldn't have been done with everyone. So
Right.
yeah.
I'd say your proudness is absolutely it makes sense. They did a great job.
Thank you.
Worked very
Yeah.
cohesively. It was an awesome film overall. And I'm curious, are there any films on the horizon? Any plans for films in the future?
I'm not currently directing or writing anything of my own, but you probably know Morgan Ludwig. He was the director of photography for Gayatri.
Yeah.
So he's currently directing a film, and we're in the process of doing that. So if you go on his social media, you'll probably see the teaser for that film. So definitely go and support him, because he worked very hard for my film, and I'm trying to do the same. I'm producing his film. So yeah, that's what I'm currently doing. I'm focusing on him and his film and trying to help him. So that's currently
That's
what's
awesome.
on the horizon
That's
for me.
awesome. Plugging for other filmmakers, that's very admirable. Well, thank you so much, Rama,
Thank you.
for coming on the show and talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we hope to see more projects from you in the future.
Thank you.
And thank
for
you
having me.
again. And thank you for tuning in. As always, if you, a friend, or anyone you know is interested in submitting a student production to be featured here on our show, the link's right here at the bottom of the screen, or if you're more of a copy and paste kind of person, it's in the description too. Also, if you see me on the street, just shout random films you've been working on at me, and we'll get you on the show. We need submissions, and we'd like to showcase as many IU students as possible. Until next time, I'm Eric Hunter, and this has been Behind the Curtain.